All right, welcome to 2023, the real estate market. It didn't do too hot. Coming out of 2022, everything was crashing, but things look like they're going to improve. And if you're looking to sell and take advantage of that in 2023, we've got some guidelines that we want you to follow so you get top dollar for your house still, get it sold quickly, and have as little headache as possible. That's the plan. We'll see how it plays out. This is Steve, Malone Realty Group, EXP. Yeah, it's been an interesting market since the interest rates kind of went through the roof middle part of last year. Everything really got quiet. But things look like they're going to improve as the interest rates are forecasted to come down a little bit throughout this year. Buyers are kind of tired of sitting on the sidelines. They're starting to come back in already as we speak. Inventory still low. Not as low as it was last year, but still low. So sellers still have an opportunity, but you got to follow these guidelines we're going to give you. So we're going to give you 4 things that we're telling all of our people that are getting ready to list. 4 things that you got to keep in mind if you're going to sell your house this spring and this summer. Okay, and we're going to be watching because things are going to change. But if you follow these 4 rules, I think you're going to end up in a really good spot. You're still going to sell for a decent amount. You're still going to sell quickly and for as little headache as you possibly can. If you don't follow these guidelines, all bets are off. We'll see how it all plays out. But if you follow these 4 rules, you've got a good shot at getting some stuff done this spring. So here we go. Want to sell your house this spring or this summer? This is what you need to do. All right, we're going to kick this off. The most important thing, price. We did a whole video on this talking about the importance of landing your price correctly. If you don't land your price correctly, what's going to happen? Think about it. You've got to land the price correctly. If you go back to spring of 22, all you had to do is raise your hand and your house was sold. Didn't even really matter what you asked for a price. If the price, was in the neighborhood, you were going to get it. You were going to get way above it because it was just that kind of crazy market last year. That's not the market we're in right now. Price really, really matters. So I know that there's a lot of sellers who think to themselves, hey, let's go high, try and maximize what we can get, and then we can come down from there. I know it makes sense when you say it out loud. In reality, it just doesn't work. Here's why. If you list your house, no matter what the price is, but let's just say your house is worth $500,000. Let's just say it's worth $500,000, okay? If you were to list your house at $700,000 and at $300,000, where are you going to get more people looking at your house? $300,000. You're going to have more buyers there. Okay. Obviously, you're not going to list at 300. That's too low. Obviously, you're going to list at 700. That's too high. You're probably not going to get any showings at 7. You're going to get way too many at 3. So then we move the numbers in a little bit more. What about 600 and 400? Again, 400 you get a lot more than you'd have at 600, and then keep squeezing. So there's a number in the middle where you don't have an overwhelming number of people looking at the house, but you also don't have a ghost town. Okay, our goal is to get 2 to 3 showings every week, get an offer within 2 to 3 weeks. That's the goal in this market. If we can do that, we know we're priced right. Okay. And we know what the prices are. You know what the prices are. There's lots of websites online that give people an idea what things should go for. Their agents are giving them an idea what things should go for. If your house is worth 500 and we say, let's go 550 and see what we can get, what we're going to get is we're going to get a whole lot of people not looking at your house. You're going to get a whole lot of people thinking, I'm just going to wait. And then what's going to happen is we're going to go down on price. It's all right, let's try 525. And let's try 500. By the time we try 500, which is where it should have been in the first place, you're going to get in a position where people are going to look at the house and be like, man, that house has been on the market for like a month and a half. What's wrong with it? You know it. You do that the same thing too. If you're looking for a house, if the house has been on the market for 45 days, what's wrong with the house? Okay? That's the danger of overpricing it. When you list, that moment in time is the most important moment in the life of a listing. Okay, that's when you're going to have the most eyeballs in the house, the most excitement around the listing. That's when you're going to have the most people thinking about it, the most people seeing it. It's brand new, it's sparkly, it's all of those things. And if it's all those things and it's priced too high, people still will not go see it. But if it's all those things and it's priced where it's supposed to be, you're going to get people come out, there's going to be a little bit of a frenzy, and you're going to end up potentially with an offer within the first couple weeks. Okay? This is not the market to try and let's see what we can get. I want you to get your house sold. Okay, let's see what we can get. Let's get an offer. Okay, that's what we're telling all of our sellers. Okay, this is not the market to let's try. The interest rates are still a little too high for that. The buyers are still kind of a little woozy coming out of last year. for that. So we're telling all of our people, whatever that market price is, we're going to list at that market price, maybe even a hair under it. We've talked about in the past too, some of our videos that we do, like if the magic number, if we add everything up, figure out what the price per square foot is. Let's say the number is like 505 or 510. We'll list at 500, just so that way we have a little bit more visibility. People looking 450 to 500 and 500 to 550. Okay, so we're going to hit it at 500. Listing at 510, you're going to miss a whole bunch of people who could potentially want the house. Okay, so I say all that to say, the number one thing this spring is we've got to hit price. You got to be at the market price. This is not the market to try to see what we can get. If you want to try and see what we can get, we got to wait a little bit. Maybe wait till next spring, see if the market improves by that. It's not a bad market. It's just not that market. So number one, we got to hit that price. Moving on to number two. After we've hit the price, now we've got to hit the house. The house has got to look the part. Okay, there is a major difference between a house that is painted, clean carpets, landscaped outside, everything's done up nice. Buyers walk in and they say there's nothing to do here except put in an offer and move in. That versus a house that hasn't been painted in 10 years. Carpets needing to be replaced. We have laminate countertops instead of granite. Everything else in the neighborhood's granite, but this one's got laminate. On and on and on. You know how it is. If you look at a house, there's a difference between a house that makes you say, oh my goodness, and a house that makes you say, oh my goodness. There's that little difference there. So you want a house that says, oh my goodness, and has them wanting to put an offer in. Buyers don't want to do anything right now. Last year, they couldn't be picky. Really, the last couple of years, they couldn't be picky. There wasn't a whole lot on the market. They had to move quick. That house, there's a for sale sign in front of it. Let's grab it. Now they can be picky. And buyers have been waiting for this. So they're going to be picky. Give them something to look at. Just met with a client yesterday. They signed up. We're going to be selling their house later on in January. 2-year-old house. Bananas nice. Really nice on the inside. But it's a 2-year-old house. It's 2-year-old carpet, 2-year-old roof, 2-year-old HVAC. The paint was just done. Unbelievable kitchen, all that stuff. The house just screams nice, right? That's where you want to be. Screaming nice. So even if that means I got to put like 3 weeks of work into the house before we go on the market, then we put 3 weeks of work into the house before we go on the market. I would rather you, instead of like listing tomorrow, I'd rather you say, give me 3 weeks. Let me paint some rooms. Let me clean some carpets. Let me do some pressure washing. Let me put in some bushes, whatever. Let's make this. And we help our people with this, saying, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Da, da, da. I would rather you take 3 weeks and get it right. Like we just talked about. The first moment you're on the market, it's the most important moment that you have in the list or the lifetime of your listing. Okay. So we're not going to put it on the market. And if it looks like, nobody's looking at it, then we'll fix everything. I say, let's fix it up front. We've seen it time and time again since the beginning of the slowdown. If the house looks great and is in a great area and is priced right, it will still move. If it's not all those things, it may not move. Okay? So we walk you through it and say, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? But get that in mind. If we're going to sell the house, we start preparing ourselves for the fact that this is not our house anymore. We're going to be selling it. Let's get it ready for somebody else. And let's do some fixes to it. We're not going to come into it and say, well, we don't want to do this because we don't know what color they want the house. They don't want the house Pepto-Bismol pink. Okay? So we're just going to get rid of the Pepto-Bismol pink. Okay? We're just going to paint it right now with something neutral and let them go in there. Because if they look at the pink, they're not going to say, oh, well, this pink, we'll paint over it. They're going to say, my goodness. Okay? So we're going to get the house ready. So that's number two. If you're going to list your house, we're going to do a little work ahead of time. We're going to have that house kicking when it goes on the market. All right, so guideline number 3. This is a hard one to hear, a hard one to say, but it has to be said, and here we go. Spring of last year never happened. It never happened. I say that to mean if you've got neighbors who sold last year and they got this, and this, and this. They had this many offers. They got this much over asking price. They had this and that. Da, da, da. Good for them. They sold in the most unique seller's market in the history of real estate. It will probably never happen again. And for all intents and purposes, for what we're doing right now in real estate, it didn't happen. Okay? What we're seeing across the country is if somebody sold their house for $100,000 over asking price last year, let's say it was listed, let's say, we'll use it again, 500. Let's say it was listed at 500. Somebody listed at 500 and sold it for 600 last year. That does not mean that the home prices in the neighborhood are worth 600. If that market had continued, then the home prices are at 600. The home market completely cratered after that. So I would say if the home was listed at 500, sold for 600 last year, probably worth something close to 500 right now. Does that mean home prices went down 100,000? You could make that argument. I'd make the argument that they were supposed to be 500 that whole time. Somebody got a big win by selling for 6, is what it is. But when we look at things, we are not going to base what we're putting, the home on the market for right now based on what happened last spring. Last spring was crazy. Okay, it was just a crazy market. Everything that we sold, went super bananas over asking. We had lots of offers on everything we sold, and yeah, it is just a remarkably different market right now. It's a hard thing to hear because it's hard to watch your neighbors sell it for whatever, and it's like, all right, now it's my turn, and it's like that market's way gone. I mean, it's not even close now. It wasn't a slowdown in June. It was a complete train wreck of the real estate market. Just it hit a wall and stopped. It's amazing. We've shared the numbers with you here on the YouTube channel. We've shared numbers on our Instagram. We talked about how the number of deals that have happened every month that just going down and down. I mean, it's the slowest market we've seen in 10 to 12 years here in the Metro Atlanta area. So yes, it's a markedly different market now than it was. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to lie to you. We're not going to build it up. We're not going to overdo it. We're going to shoot you straight and tell you, look, based on what's happened since June, this is what's happened in the neighborhood. This is what's happened in the area. This is where we think that we should be on price. This is what we're going to expect, all those things, okay? It was a lot easier to sell your house back in spring last year, but it's a different market. Just keep that in mind. So we're telling all of our people, spring of 22, for all intents and purposes, it didn't happen, okay? If we're going to use that to figure out what we're going to do for us, it never happened, okay? It was crazy time, but we gotta play the hand that we're dealt right now. So that's number 3. We're just going to pretend it never happened, but at the same time, there are things that we can look at and things that we can do going forward that are going to help us get the home sold. All right, so the final thing we need to keep in mind is we're getting ready to sell our house. So number 4, you gotta be ready to give a little bit in the negotiating, okay? Again, this is not last year. Last year, we got to pretend like it never happened, all right? We're back to regular real estate. And in regular real estate, sometimes we got to give a little bit to get to the finish line, okay? So that being said, if somebody comes in, they put in an offer, they do an inspection shows some issues that need to be fixed, they're going to ask for some fixes. We don't want to fix everything that they ask for, but if it's something safety related or something major, we may want to help out with it. The other thing is, whatever it is that we need to do to negotiate to get us through the deal, that's kind of what we tell our sellers all the time. When it comes to inspections, there's all different kinds of fair. To the seller, there's fair. It's like, what should be fair that we should pay them after an inspection? The buyers think that there's a number that's fair. There's probably a number in the middle that's what's actually fair. And then there's also a number that is the minimum that the seller wants to pay and that the buyer will accept or whatever to keep the deal moving forward. Okay, so there's all different kinds of fair and whatever in the whole negotiating. So it's all a part of it. But as a seller, we need to be prepared for, as we go into this, we need to be prepared to give a little bit in that negotiating. Okay, it stinks. I don't want to do it. We'd like to put ourselves in a position where we give as little as possible. To help with that, that's why all that other stuff that we talked about is so important. That's why pricing is so important. You price too high, you give away the ability to negotiate on some of these deals because you have fewer offers and they come much later. Okay, what you want to do is you want to get a whole bunch of people in there right away, and you want to get offers first weekend. If we can get offers the first weekend, a whole bunch of people looking right away, it shows some, there's some immediacy there, there's some excitement there, and people know that, you know what, we're not going to ask for a whole bunch of stuff in the inspection, we're going to ask for what we need in the inspection. Okay, it's going to create less headache for you, the seller. If we do everything right in the beginning, we actually price it right, get people in there, get an offer quick, number one. Number two, so we talked about getting the house taken care of in the first place. Let's knock their socks off when they walk in the house. That way, the paint looks great, carpets look great, this and that. That way things pop up. They pop up, we can fix them. But people go into it and say, oh man, we got to do the paint, we got to do the carpet, I got to do the counters, I got to do this, I got to do that. And then you do an inspection and there's like a whole bunch of stuff that needs to get fixed. It's just more stuff for them to do. And they're going to ask you to fix a whole bunch of that stuff. So that's why number one and number two in this is so important. We've got to remember, we got to price it right so we get things happening quickly, and we got to have it look the parts that way. It's one less thing that they got to worry about when they move in the house. That way, again, they do the inspection, there's some issues, maybe they can absorb some of those issues. But if you move into a house, there's a whole bunch of stuff to do, and there's issues, they're going to want some help with all of those issues. That's number two. And again, number three, like we talked about, last year we had to pretend like it didn't happen. Okay, last year people weren't giving away stuff during inspection because people, for the most part, they weren't doing inspections last year. It was crazy. They were waiving inspections, waiving appraisals. Okay, it didn't happen. Okay, but remember, number one and number two, price it right, have a look at the part. That way when number four rolls around, which is we may have to give a little bit in the inspection or after the inspection to get to the closing, we're not going to have to give as much. It's going to create much less headache for the seller and much less headache going to closing. All right, so those are the four pillars that we are basing our strategy on as we head into the spring. Okay, just go over them again because we just did, but let's do it again. We got to price it right. It's got to look the part. We can't say, but what about Bill or what about Bob? Okay, Bob sold his house in the craziest market of all time. We cannot pretend like it happened. Okay, because it has no say on what's happening right now. All right, so last year never happened, and we got to be willing to give a little bit. But here's the deal. If we do all of these things in the beginning good, if we price it really, really aggressive and price it right where it's supposed to be or even a little below, we're going to get a lot of buyers. The potential for a lot of offers. If we have the house looking really, really nice, it's going to wow them, and we're going to have like wow offers. Okay? And when they do those inspections, one of the things we can tell them is like, look, we're willing to be fair, but we're not going to overdo it because we do have other people that are interested in the house. Okay? If we do all the other things right, that's the headache part. We always tell our people we want to get you the most amount of money possible, sold as quickly as possible, little headache as possible. So if we price it right, get the house looking great, that headache is not going to be there during the inspection period. Okay? That's where we're setting our people up. Those are the four pillars that we're setting up to get people ready to sell this spring, this summer. Ask me questions. Did I miss something? Is there something that you want to talk about or to talk more about in depth? That's what we're here for. You can call me, 470-233-4409. The email is below. You can leave comments below as well. And here we go. We're going to get this thing back on track because there is only one way for the market to go from here. It's got to go up because we are at the bottom right now. So here we go. Let's make it happen. This is Steve Malone Realty Group, EXP. Take care. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching the video today. If you want more information on what's going on in the real estate market, take a look at some of these videos over here that we've posted, keeping up with what buying, selling, things that are going on in the North Georgia market. But if you want to keep up with everything that we post to our YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel down there, bottom right. That way you won't miss out on anything.